Justice League The New Frontier is an animated movie I watched all the time when I was younger. And now rewatching it, I still love it, but have a different understanding of the story. Well, I actually understand it now. This takes place in the 50s going into the 60s. Early on, it's shown that heroes are being outlawed in the credits, with the JSA having to retire. This sets up a plot point for the rest of the movie, while the others plot point is that there is a living dinosaur island called the Center that has watched man grow over centuries and has decided they need to be exterminated. This movie juggles between 6 different heroes, which are Superman, Batman, Martian Manhunter, Hal Jordan, Wonder Woman, and The Flash. Superheroes being outlawed, Superman and Wonder Woman still signed to work with the government, so they can do their heroics without having to worry about being wanted. And Batman is still being Batman, right? So he's still a vigilante. And in the comics, Superman and Batman fake a fight so they can both work from both sides of the system. With Martian Manhunter, he's just teleported from Mars to Earth in the beginning of the film. Now, he has a view of an innocent. He learns about humans through TV and his job as a detective. It's kind of interesting because John didn't ask to be sent to Earth, and he still shows compassion for the man who teleported him once he dies. This is really a moment that shows how empathetic he is as a character. With Hal Jordan, he's a big focus character for the movie, as he is also the first person to be shown after the opening credits. Hal has most of the screen time, basically making him the main character, I would say. And when he's first shown, he's flying a fighter jet with Ace, as at the time the Korean War just ended. Hal gets his jet shot up, so he has to eject, and when he's landing, a child soldier from the other side of the war tries to kill him, and this is where a turning point in Hal's life happens. He has to kill the kid to survive. As for Wonder Woman, she's in the same boat as Superman because she has the partnership with the government, but she isn't as peaceful like Superman. She saved a group of women from rebels that were being used for sexual purposes. When she saved the women, they picked up the guns that belonged to the rebels and shot them down. And when Superman meets up with her, he is upset by the actions that she had the women take, because she is making an example for why the government is afraid of supers in the first place. And he continues to have this thought, but expanding it with Lois later.
The last I heard, she went back to Paradise Island.
It sounds like she's lost her mind.
I don't think it's that simple. Diana's an Amazon who's become an American. She's trying to make sense of her convictions.
Superman understands why Wonder Woman and Batman act the way they do, but Lois basically tells Superman that they all need to put their pride aside and have to be like leaders for the humans, for the people. Superman has to be the leader for the other heroes. This is just another example of the people looking towards Superman and the others to lead them to a better path. Flash is the next character introduced, and with this version, I see him as the newbie to the hero game, only because of how others react to him, but I could be wrong.
That super fast guy from Central City.
Before Flash shows up to Vegas, Hal is gambling with Ace in the same place Iris is having an interview with a celebrity. Unfortunately, Captain Cold crashes the casino, and Barry hears Captain Cold shoot Iris over the phone. This is when one of my favorite scenes happen, and it's because they show the Flash ring. This one scene made me love the Flash ring so much that I got my own, and whenever he uses it in the comics or a show, I get insanely excited. Flash does his cool swift heroics and stops Captain Cold before he ends up capturing him with his own ice gun. The Center invades his mind and body and talks about how Flash is faster than the other humans. The Center has been watching the Earth for centuries and is surprised when seeing these superpowered beings. So it's like a big factor, and maybe he's like thinking they have a chance to stop me. Afterwards, Hal is talking with Ace as they're driving towards Ferris Air, and he tells him that the war changed him. This is mainly because he ended up having to kill the kid at the beginning of the movie, and then he also went to a psych ward. Back to Jean, he's doing his detective work, which leads him and his partner to a building, and when he gets inside, Batman is just fighting this group of cultists that praise the center. During this scene, a big changing factor for Batman happens. When he tries to save the kid that the cults were going to use for the center, he ends up frightening him. Later in the movie, when Superman visits him in the Batcave, he is wearing a completely different costume that seems to be less scary and also has Robin as a partner by this point. Even though he didn't show much of a reaction when the kid was afraid during Superman's visit, he tells him this.
Let's just say I set out to scare criminals, not children.
Fair enough.
I think this movie does a good job of setting up the heroes' characters for the film. Martian Manhunter and Green Lantern have the best characters by far because their parts are more fleshed out, right? And for Martian Manhunter, he has to learn a new world and adapt to it, but still never really understanding why they act the way they do, even as a telepath.
I thought I could make a life for myself here among you humans. I didn't think I had a choice. But there is one now. There's just too much hatred here, too much ignorance, too much mindless conformity.
One of my favorite parts including him is when Batman is in his apartment and he tells him that all he needs is a penny for a book of matches just to put him down, knowing his weakness just from the church incident. With Green Lantern, he is someone that went through a life-changing experience as well because him being a pacifist, he realized that he would kill to survive.
But in that trench, I found out what would make me kill. Survival. I would kill to survive.
When he starts working at Faraday, he is put on a classified mission by Faraday. This mission is about going to Mars as they have discovered Jean has been sent to Earth. This is how these two stories connect, with John and Hal Jordan both having a connection towards Mars. Because Jean is done with Earth, he sees this opportunity and wants to go home. And for Hal, this is his biggest dream to go to space. Sadly, John doesn't get to go back as he is stopped by Faraday and saves his life, which ends up in his capture. When Hal gets to space, suddenly the ship starts to lose pressure. This leads to a fight between him and Rick Flag as Flag wants to blow the ship up to save people on Earth from the explosion that would happen, and Hal believes he can pilot it back safely with no casualties. Flag ends up blowing it up anyway, while Hal is sent floating in space, but gets saved by Superman. Flag also ends up dying in the process. We see Martian Manhunter being in confinement as Faraday and Superman stand in front of him.
You have to admit.
Listen, you've seen the power he has. He could leave this place anytime he wants, but he hasn't. That should tell you something.
This interaction with Faraday and Superman lead to a good moment where Jean and Faraday are playing chess, and Jean tells Faraday he believes in his hope for humanity, and it changes into the Martian Manhunter. We'll get to that climactic part later. As the center gets closer to Earth, Hal is finally given the Green Lantern ring by Abin Sur. If you're familiar with Green Lantern, then I'm assuming you know who Abin Sur is and what he did for Hal. And if you don't, Abin Sur is the person who gives him the ring in the first place, which happens in this movie. So before Abin Sur gives him the ring, Hal Jordan is talking about how people say that he's a coward. But Abin Sur gives him kind words, saying that he is someone that understands the value of human lives and that he is no coward. So he gives him the ring and he dies, like usually how it goes. Next, the scene where Superman and Batman was in the Batcave that I referenced earlier, but Superman hears the radio during this moment, and he turns it up to hear Lois talking about a pterodactyl creature that is attacking. Hearing this, Superman zoomed over there to put it down. Wonder Woman comes crashing in on her invisible jet that was covered in blood, and she was badly beat up, and tells Superman that it's coming, referring to the center. Every hero we have seen was watching the news reports that Lois was giving out, and they returned back to the hero game, like Flash. Flash puts on his suit again because earlier in the movie, about midway, he quits being a hero. He retires after the government tried to set him up and take him in to figure out why he is the way he is. And During that, he talks about John Henry and how people need to be like John Henry. Like Flash, Hal Jordan also saw on the news the reports of the dinosaurs attacking. He goes back to join the fight as a pilot. As all the heroes and soldiers meet up, a fight almost breaks out between the heroes. And on the hero side, they had the Blackhawks, Green Arrow, Adam Strange, and the Flash, just against military soldiers. But it's broken up by Superman, and he gives this strong speech about how they all need to work together.
America was founded on the notion that a person should be free to follow his or her destiny. But we can't do that if we're living in fear of our own government. We need to reclaim this country for free men and women everywhere.
The next thing is Superman trying to defeat Dinosaur Island, but he is quickly put down like he's nothing. As they try to make a plan of attack, Batman joins in and gives them the hope and plan for beating the Center. His plan includes Ray Palmer, who in this movie wasn't the Atom. They talk about using Ray's atom shrinking tech to make the island unstable and blow it up, but they need a Flash to cover the whole surface. With this task being given to Flash, he is nervous throughout this part as he is their saving grace. Of course, before the heroes win, there are some losses on their side, as Faraday sacrificed himself to kill one dinosaurs while Martian Manhunter had to watch. Now, Martian Manhunter, after seeing that, was triggered and went into a furious rage and started killing multiple dinosaurs one by one, showing how powerful he truly is. Going back to Hal, as he's a pilot during this moment, he's with Ace and they are going inside of the Center to deal damage. This is where Hal finally unleashes his powers as Green Lantern and saves Ace and himself from almost dying inside the Center as they were about to self-destruct. As it all weighs on Flash, we get this cool scene of him covering the Center in the shrinking rays, but as the Center begins to blow up, everybody is at risk of dying. So Hal Jordan realizes this and uses his powers to form a bubble around it and try to swing it into space. Before he can do that, the Center tries to tell him that he doesn't have enough willpower, but that's just something you don't tell a Green Lantern, you don't tell Hal Jordan. And he ends up proving him wrong by pulling him through space and tossing him across. And it ends in a big explosion from the Center. And Hal celebrates by swinging and flying through space as he finally achieves his dream of going to the stars. After that, Aquaman comes up to the surface with Superman, saying he's looking for Lois. And this is where all the heroes get to celebrate with Arthur and Superman. Then, the movie ends with the New Frontier speech by John F. Kennedy.
And we stand today on the edge of a new frontier.
This movie does a good job of showing heroes deal with society's problems towards them. And when looking at this comic movie, looking at what it adapted from, I am not happy that they didn't really adapt John Henry's story as it was done in the comics. They just slightly nodded at it, like when Flash gave a speech, and even like newspaper clippings that were put up around during the movie. And John Henry, he was the person that was truly a pioneer for vigilantes, for other heroes to rise up. He was a man that had his family killed by the KKK and got justice for them, and continued to help others and people that were having problems against KKK. I really wish they added that to the movie. And even Darwin Cook was like, we didn't have enough time for that. But that's one thing he really think could have made it better. I haven't read this comic, but I really do want to read it. I've also seen things about how this villain, the Center, will be the main big bad problem for James Gunn's new universe. And I think that would be cool because I think the Center is a cool idea for this new universe, and it's not something that's never been touched on besides from this book. But with this movie, I think they nailed every character down to what we know them as. Wonder Woman being the warrior, Batman being the guy with the plan, Superman being the leader, Flash being the lovable hero, Green Lantern being willful pilot, and Martian Manhunter being the person that's empathetic for people that he barely knows. And that's all I got, you know? If you enjoyed this, like, subscribe, share. Until next time, peace.
I'm not sure what you are or where you come from, but my instincts tell me you're to be trusted. Make no mistake, though. I have a $70,000 sliver of radioactive meteor to stop the one from Metropolis. With you, all I need is a penny for a book of matches.